Hello there, and welcome to all of you who are watching this live with us today. Really great to have so many of you on the event. Also, if you're watching this later on the replay, then hello to you as well. I know at least one person from the Facebook group was planning to watch the replay later because it's his partner's birthday. So Ben, if you're watching, hello, and hope your other half had a great day. For those who don't know me, my name is David Miles, and I'm on a mission to help mortgage brokers and financial advisors to generate their own leads online so as they can stop giving money to lead generation companies. Now, obviously, there are lots of different online channels that mortgage brokers and anybody else can use to generate leads and get new clients. There's Google, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, LinkedIn, all of those. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about one of what seems to be one of the most popular choices based on responses and comments that people have made in the Facebook group, and that is Facebook ads. So we're going to be looking at how you can get mortgage leads using Facebook ads. So what I'm going to do today is share with you 6 things. I've picked 6 things which I think are really important for you to do or to know about before you start advertising on Facebook. So if you haven't started yet, these are things you need to be aware of. If you are already advertising on Facebook ads, then these 6 things are items which you might want to go and look into because they could almost certainly increase the performance that you're getting from your ad campaigns and get you a better return on investment. Do make sure you stick around to the end. We're aiming for this to last about half an hour, depending on how many questions we get. But stick around to the end because I'll be sharing something towards the end. The final tip is one that very few advertisers, even experienced ones, actually take advantage of, and yet it's an amazingly powerful feature. Yeah, do make sure that you're still with us for that. Okay, so let's get started then. Tip number 1 is if you're going to use Facebook ads, the very first thing you need to do before you start advertising is to make sure that you have something called the Facebook Pixel installed on your website. Now, if you're not familiar with what the Pixel is, it's a small piece of web code that goes on your website, and what it does, it allows Facebook, using that code, to track every visit that happens on your website, whether that person comes via Facebook or via any other source. So by using the Pixel, Facebook builds up a really good picture of how people use your site, how they behave on it, and it can also track which people create a conversion. A conversion being someone submitting an inquiry or downloading a free guide or something like that. And it can learn from that, and actually, it can use that knowledge and that learning to help improve your Facebook campaigns. And it also allows you to create something called audiences, which is a really powerful feature that we'll talk more about a bit later on. So that's the first really important thing. Loads of people start running Facebook ads without the Pixel there. That means they can't measure their results, and of course, if you can't measure something, you've got no hope of improving it. So to install the Facebook Pixel, you can either get your web developer to do it, or if you're running a WordPress site and you're reasonably comfortable installing plugins and doing things like that, there are lots of different plugins which make it really easy to put the Facebook Pixel on your site. So you get the Facebook Pixel code from within your Facebook ads account, and then using one of these plugins, you enter the relevant details of the Pixel ID number, and that will do it all for you. The one that I recommend and I use myself is called Pixel Caffeine, but there are loads of other ones, they're all free. In fact, I published an article recently on my blog about various WordPress plugins which I recommend for mortgage brokers and for others, and Pixel Caffeine was one of those. So if you need the details of it, just check out the blog. If you go to the ppcmachine.co.uk/mortgage brokers, that will take you straight to all the mortgage broker related articles on there. So that's rule number 1, or tip number 1, is get the Facebook Pixel on there. The second point is you need to make sure that you pick the right objective for your Facebook advertising campaign. Now, if you've set up a campaign already, you'll no doubt seen that one of the first things that Facebook asks you to specify is to say what your campaign objective is, and you've got all sorts of choices there, like traffic or reach or engagement or conversions, and it's really important that you pick the right one, and that's because Facebook will try and use its algorithm and its artificial intelligence and everything to try and show your ads to those people who are most likely to help you achieve that objective. So if, for example, you said that your campaign objective was to get traffic, i.e. get as many people visiting your website as possible, then Facebook is going to try and show your ad to the people that it thinks are most likely to click on your ad and visit your website, regardless of whether those people are likely to take the desired action when they get there. So if you go for the traffic objective, which I'm not recommending you do, you'll get lots and lots of clicks through to your website, but you won't necessarily get much in the way of inquiries and leads from it. So for the majority of cases, if you're using Facebook ads to try and get leads and inquiries, what you need to do is to pick the campaign objective of conversions. And if you do that, you might get less traffic, but you should get more conversions, because what Facebook will do, it will use all the massive amounts of data it's got on all its users to identify which of its users are the ones most likely to submit an inquiry when they get to your website. And it will use its past learning and the learning it gets from your own particular campaign to continuously optimize it for that. So that is definitely the best objective to pick, is conversions. And because that's one reason why we need the pixel on there, because until you've got the pixel on there, Facebook can't tell which of your visitors are converting or not. So put the pixel on there, set conversions as your campaign objective, and then Facebook will do everything it can to optimize your campaigns to show the ads to the people most likely to convert. Now, number 3 is you need to decide who to target, i.e. who you're going to show your adverts to. Now, deciding who you want to target that's fundamental to any marketing campaign, and yet it's a bit that people very often miss out. Now, I know I've been talking to a few of you over the last few days about the online course that I launched a month or two ago, and that started out with the intention of being purely a course on Google Ads. And once I sat down to actually plan it, I realized that, of course, the reason that people using Google Ads and Facebook ads don't often get the results they want is because they haven't identified, first of all, who they're targeting and what their marketing message is. They haven't got those fundamentals in place, first of all. So that course actually ended up having, the first module became all about those marketing fundamentals, and actually the Google Ads is in the final bit of it. But you should take the same approach when you're running your own Facebook ads. You should decide, first of all, who it is you want to target, what kind of people. So if you haven't done any work yet on things like identifying your ideal customer persona, or working out your what sort of niches you want to focus on within the mortgage market, then I would strongly recommend you do that before you go on setting up your Facebook ads. And again, if you go onto that same part of the blog I just said, there's loads of free articles on there that talk about creating customer personas and niching and things like that. Anyway, what Facebook allows you to do, the beauty of Facebook is it knows loads and loads of information about everyone who's on there. It knows what their hobbies and interests are, it knows what kind of ads they've responded to in the past, and so on and so on. In a lot of cases it knows where they live, how old they are, what their jobs are, all that kind of thing. So it's very easy to be very specific about who you want to target. And this is one area, though, where the advice has changed over the last couple of years. So until a couple of years ago, the general advice was to go really, really tight with your targeting. So find people who are a particular age group, live in a particular town, and have shown an interest in things like mortgages, or are fans of the Rightmove page, anything like that indicates that they are potentially interested in mortgages or remortgages. The reason the advice has changed a bit is because as Facebook's algorithm has got better and cleverer, for want of a better word, the advice now is actually to go a lot broader than you might have done before. So have a broad targeting and allow Facebook's algorithm to do its work, and actually from that big set of people that you're targeting, it can find the people most likely to convert. So I would say, rather than targeting people based on several different things, initially I would target them based on on one kind of characteristic. So maybe you target them based on the fact that they've been identified by Facebook as being interested in first-time buyers or remortgages. Or another option might be, and again this depends on your customer personas, if you're someone who is niched into mortgages for example, IT contractors, then target your audience by their occupation, you know, occupation of IT contractor or IT consultant. If you're geographically based, you could target by location. And also, the other kind of way you go is you could go a bit off at a tangent and think, well, what interests do people have that might indicate they need a remortgage? So, for example, if someone has been tagged by Facebook as being particularly interested in home improvements or new kitchens or new bathrooms, they could be good people to show a remortgage advert to, as planting the idea that they might want to get a remortgage to do their home improvements project. So there's various different ways you can do it, but what I would say is pick just one of those rather than what you would have done a couple of years ago, trying to do some very clever combination of all those different things. And you know, if you can start off with an audience of 1 to 2 million initially, that's actually now thought to be the better way of doing it, rather than trying to really niche it down, because you don't want people to see the same ad too often, and you want to give the algorithm, Facebook's algorithm, the best chance possible of finding the right people for you. Let's just have a quick look at the comments. So we've got one question there from Amanda. Hi, Amanda, who says, do I need a website or can I just have a Facebook page? So you can run ads on Facebook without having a website and just with having a Facebook page. There are specific ad campaigns, for example, to get more people to like your page. And of course, the more people who like your page, then the more people who are potentially going to see any posts that you put on there. In terms of lead generation, though, that's not a particularly direct approach. If you're looking to use Facebook ads for lead generation and you don't have a website, ideally I would say get a website, even if it's just like a single landing page, because then you're fully in control of it. But equally, I do appreciate that there are a lot of brokers who they work for someone else or they're part of a network where getting their own website is a lot of hassle or impossible. So if you're in that position, there is a particular kind of Facebook ad campaign you can run called a lead generation campaign. And what that does is when someone sees your ad and clicks on it, instead of them being taken through to your website, they stay on Facebook and they get an inquiry form presented underneath the advert. And if they fill that in, that's the equivalent of them filling in a form on your website. They fill that in and the information comes through to you. What's nice about that is a lot of the information on the form is pre-populated. So obviously, because Facebook already knows the person's name and their email, for example, or in some cases their phone number, it can fill those things in automatically. So it's an easier process for the person to submit their inquiry because they haven't got to leave Facebook to do it, and a lot of the stuff is filled in. So that is a workaround for it. And actually, even if you've got a website, it's worth experimenting with lead gen ads, and testing those versus ads that send someone to the website to see which ones get you the most results and which get you the best cost per lead. So hopefully that answers the question, Amanda. But if not, then obviously leave me another comment and we can talk about it more afterwards. So tip number 4. Tip number 4 is to use something called a lead magnet, rather than trying to go straight in and sell to someone or get them to request a mortgage quote from you. Now, I'll talk a little bit in a minute about what a lead magnet is, but first let me explain why I think it's really important to have one. The biggest drawback of Facebook ads is that it's what's called interruption marketing. So contrast it with something like Google ads. If you show a Google ad to someone, they're only seeing that because they sat down at Google and typed something into the search bar that indicates they're in the market to get mortgage or remortgage advice. So they actually made the first move, where they went looking for your help. Now compare that to an ad on Facebook. People are, generally speaking, they're not on Facebook to find a mortgage or remortgage. They're on Facebook to look at pictures of their family, or look at funny videos about cats, or see what their ex-girlfriend's up to now, or whatever it might be. They're not on there to get a mortgage. So when your advert appears, that's interrupting what they were actually there to do. So it's very unlikely that someone who was just on Facebook browsing whatever they were browsing sees your advert and goes, oh yeah, yes, I did need a mortgage actually, thank you for mentioning it, I'll get in touch and request a quote. very unlikely to happen unless you're really lucky with your timing. Because even someone who is in your right target audience and the right demographic, say you're advertising remortgages, well, they might be only 1 year into a 3-year fixed rate deal. So the timing's just not right at the moment. So the reason you need to have a lead magnet is because it's a really good way of getting people into your sales funnel and then being able to nurture them so that when they are ready to do a mortgage or remortgage, or when the time is right for that, it's you that they remember and you that they come back to, and also it's you who started building some kind of relationship with them, albeit not a one-to-one relationship. It's in the online world, and that helps build up that kind of trust and credibility. So as when they do speak to you, they already feel like there's a bit of a connection and they know you a bit. And a lead magnet is a really good way to do that. So what a lead magnet is it's some kind of resource which has value to your target audience, and which it's free, but to download it, they have to put in their name and email address. Okay, so it needs to be something which is sufficiently catchy or interesting sounding to make them willing to do that. So think again about who is your target audience. So if think of an example. Suppose you were targeting people who needed who wanted a remortgage in order to save money. Then you could provide some kind of resource that talked a little bit about remortgages, but also gave them lots of other ideas for how to save money, or how to make the money they have got work harder for them, or whatever. Or if you're targeting first-time buyers, you could create some kind of guide about the house buying process. 7 things you need to know when you're buying your first home. And that could obviously talk a little bit about mortgages, but it could also talk about all the other things, like how to deal with estate agents, or how to get survey done, or highlighting all the different bills and things that you need to pay once you're a homeowner, council tax, water bills, blah blah blah. Something that's useful to your target audience. It doesn't have to be hugely technical or in depth. It can just be 3, 4, 5 pages, and you make that available on your website as a PDF, which they can download in return for giving their details. And then that links into an email automation system. So there's various different ones. Again, I've reviewed quite a few of them on the website if you want to have a look at some of those articles, but the one I recommend to people I'm working one-to-one with is to use ActiveCampaign. And what it will then do is it will then send out a series of follow-up emails to each person who downloads the lead magnet and joins your mailing list. And that's a pre-written sequence of emails. And again, the emails are designed to give them more useful information and add more value. They're not corporate newsletters or lots of news and information about your company, because with the best will in the world, people aren't interested in that. They're interested in what knowledge and value you can give that's of interest to them. So a lead magnet followed by a series of follow-up emails. So they get one email every few days, or if I suspect most of you watching this are on my mailing list and will have had similar things from me, so you should know kind of how the system works. But that is a really, really great way to keep yourself front of mind until people are ready to take action, and also gives you plenty of opportunity to demonstrate that you have the knowledge, the expertise, and all those kind of things that make you the right mortgage broker to help them rather than someone else. So yeah, that's the biggest thing I think really to remember with Facebook ads. You're being overly optimistic if you think that you can run Facebook ads and immediately get inquiries from it. If you want inquiries immediately, you're much better off looking at Google ads first of all. But if you're willing to play the slightly longer game, get people into your funnel, nurture them until they're ready to become clients, then Facebook ads works really well for that. Oh, there's a quick follow-up question there from Alison, who was asking about how to do lead gen without a website just now. And she said, what kind of questions are best to put on the inquiry form for a lead gen campaign? Some of my customers don't respond if I ask for their phone number. Yeah, very common. You'd be surprised. Talking on the phone is a big step for a lot of people. And so as soon as you start asking for someone's phone number, there's a big fear on their part that they're going to get bombarded with phone calls and you're going to start trying to sell to them. This is another reason why the sort of the lead magnet followed by the nurture emails is a better way to do it very often. It's a softer approach. You know, you're taking sort of baby steps. And so yeah, I would actually, if you're going to ask for the phone number, certainly make it optional. Don't make it a compulsory field. And you know, you might want to actually experiment with, rather than asking for the phone number, getting their information, emailing them stuff, getting them on your mailing list. And there's no reason why in your emails you can't say, you know, in the follow-up emails, you can't have a call to action saying to people, you know, if you'd like a free review of your mortgage, reply to this email with your phone number and I'll give you a ring. Because by that point, they'll have built up a bit more trust and they'll have come to know you a bit. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't make it compulsory to have a phone number on that very initial contact. And Simon says, you may be going to discuss this, but could you advise on budget? Is there an out per day as maximum, minimum, blah, blah, blah? Right. As a rule of thumb, I would start with a budget of £5 a day with Facebook ads. That's enough to allow Facebook to drive some traffic, get the learning phase of the ads campaigns going, and then once you've seen which ads and which target audiences work, then you can start to scale it up from there. Right, back to the tips. Number 5 is have well-designed adverts. Now, there's loads of things I could talk about here, and I might actually do a separate Facebook Live another time just on ad design. But it's really important that your ads stand out from the crowd. Again, because this is interruption marketing. You know, think about when you're on Facebook yourself. You know, you're there on your phone and you're scrolling through, and something's got to really stand out to make you stop scrolling and look at it. So do go for sort of ads which are eye-catching. The first thing people like to spot is the image rather than the text. So an image that is going to catch their eye is really important. A lot of people have found that having things like yellow backgrounds or yellow borders and things on ads is good, because yellow contrasts really well with the blue color that is predominant on Facebook, so it makes it stand out. And yeah, just something like having a border around your ad, that again, it provides a kind of visual interrupt, so it makes people stop and go, what was that? Have some text on the image to make it clear what it's about. Now, not too much, because Facebook doesn't like you to have too much text on the ad. But you know, if you were doing, let's say, you know, advertising remortgages, at least have on the ad something like, "Are you wasting money?" ? Or "Save money on your mortgage." Something that gives people a headline as to what it's about. Definitely try out different ads, test multiple ads against each other to see which ones get the best results. If you're not sure how to create ads that look nice and are eye-catching, then my advice is exactly what I do myself, is use something like Canva, which is a free online design tool to create the ads. They've got lots of templates and things, and it's really easy to use. Look on some of the free image libraries like Pixabay for eye-catching images. And also the other thing I do myself is when I'm on Facebook, just as as an end user, if I see an ad that makes me stop and look, even if it's not to do with mortgages, whatever it's to do with, I take a screenshot of it on my phone, and then when I'm creating ads, I quite often look back through my screenshots on my phone for ideas and inspiration, because I think, well, if that ad made me stop and look, then why did it make me stop and look? Oh, perhaps it was that that background color, or that person's expression, or someone pointing out the screen, or whatever it was, and I'll try and replicate that kind of thing in my own ads. So that's a really good source of inspiration. In terms of the text that goes, the story, as it were, that goes above the ad, do different versions of that, experiment with long versions, short versions. Drop emojis in. I know emojis can look a bit tacky, but again, it's something that provides a visual interrupt and makes someone more likely to stop and look. And experiment with different headlines on the ads. But yeah, the main thing is make it eye-catching. There's no hard and fast rules, so have more than one ad and test different things out. But like I say, if that's something people are interested in, let me know in the comments, or put something on the Facebook group, and I'll look at doing a live stream just on Facebook ads, and we can perhaps look at some examples, or critique them and whatever. Okay, final one, number 6. This is the one I said is the really powerful feature of Facebook advertising, which loads of people either don't know about or they don't think to use, and they're really missing out if they don't. And it's something called look-alike audiences. Now, a look-alike audience, as the name suggests, is where Facebook chooses an audience to see your ads, but it's an audience that looks a bit like an existing audience that you've got. So let me give you an example and a recommendation of how you would use that. So suppose you are you're running Facebook ads and the call to action is for someone to download your lead magnet, to download a free guide. Hopefully it won't be too long before you've got a reasonable number of conversions. I would say 100 conversions as a minimum. Okay. Once 100 people have converted by downloading your lead magnet, you can then create an audience in Facebook in the audiences section of people who've downloaded your lead magnet, and and that is what's called a custom audience. Once you've created that custom audience, then you can ask Facebook to create another audience of people who it thinks are very similar to that audience who've already downloaded your lead magnet. So the theory being, if you've got these 100 people here who downloaded your lead magnet, you don't know all their characteristics, but Facebook does, and it can look at that 100 people and look for similarities and patterns, and from that it can decide, okay, out of the rest of the whole of the UK population, we reckon that these hundreds of thousands of people or whatever are the ones who are most like those and therefore will be most likely to convert. And that allows you really to scale up a campaign that's working well. So I use them a lot myself, because obviously with what I do, I target a lot of my Facebook ads at mortgage brokers. Now the problem is that Facebook doesn't actually know a lot of people's job titles, because it's not like LinkedIn where it's all job focused. Facebook knows loads of stuff about what you do when you're not at work, but it doesn't, for a lot of people, it doesn't know what their job title is. So according to Facebook, there's about 3,000 mortgage brokers in the UK, which, as we know, is like less than a tenth of the real number. So a lot of the time when I'm running ads and I want to target them to mortgage brokers, I will say, right, I've got an audience here of people who've already downloaded a lead magnet or bought a book or whatever it might be, and I say to Facebook, create me a lookalike audience of them, go out and find me more people like the ones that have already converted. So if you can create those in a number of ways. You can do it based on what people have done on your website, or if you've got an existing mailing list of past clients, you can upload that mailing list into Facebook as a custom audience, and then say to Facebook, create me a lookalike audience of that. So in other words, a lookalike of people who are like a whole load of your past clients. The theory being, if those people have done business with you, then the people who look like them are going to want to. If you haven't looked at lookalike audiences, then that is definitely something to look into. And again, if you want me to do a longer session just on that at some point, let me know. Happy to do it. This is a kind of a whistle-stop tour of a number of things, and so I'm happy to run future ones, just picking one of those bits and going into it in more detail if you want. So that's my 6 tips. I don't think we have any other questions that come in at the moment. So what I would say is, if you want to know more about Facebook advertising, if you haven't seen it already, I've got a free guide to Facebook advertising on the website. If you go to theppcmachine.co.uk/free, as in doesn't cost anything rather than the number free, /free, you'll find various guides in. One of them is, I forget the exact name, it's called something like Facebook Ads Tips for Mortgage Brokers or something really imaginative like that. If you want to really go to town and learn more about Facebook ads and Google ads as well, and don't forget there's the online course that you can look at doing as well. Happy to talk to you about that if you've got any questions around that. Other than that, I think that's it. If you've got a question that we haven't covered, leave it in the comments, and I will look back at those later on today or tomorrow and come back to any of those. Other than that, thank you very much for coming along. Hope it's been useful, and I'm planning to do these sort of on a regular basis. So again, I'll post something in the group, try and find out when are the best sort of times for people to come along to these and what topics you want covered, and hopefully see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye for now.